Welcome to the third and final chapter of Anzac Then, Now and Forever. In the past program we looked at what it's like to go to Gallipoli and take part in the dawn service and then later the Lone Pine service on Anzac morning. Now this is a growing phenomenon, it hasn't plateaued. More and more young Australians in particular are becoming interested, intrigued and searching their identity out in what they're calling the Anzac spirit. So in this program I want to explore that, particularly given that Australia today is a very different Australia to the Australia of 1915. No matter how you might view the Anzac spirit and what your opinion of it might be or what it might mean to you, one thing is for sure, that is that the cost of the Anzac spirit remains the same. The nation of Australia just had the prime of its life ripped apart from it. And perhaps the best way to understand that is to see it in a modern day perspective, that the Australian population at 1914 was roughly about just over 4 million people. So that is about the size of the whole city of Melbourne. Now the number of soldiers that went in active service is around about 10% of that, about 400,000. And of that, 60% was our casualty rate. Now this was the highest casualty rate for any other nation that fought in the First World War. We're talking here Germans and English. Our casualty rate was 250,000 young men, most of them between the age 18 and about 25, 27. And of that, 60,000 lost their life. To put that into today's perspective, we're talking 3.3 thousand football teams. Nearly 3,500 football teams, that's how many young men actually died. I don't know if in Melbourne today there would be 3,500 football teams. And then to look at how many were maimed or wounded in a way that they probably never ever played football again, that figure is equivalent to nearly 14,000 football teams. Now imagine what that would do to the spirit of just the city of Melbourne, and that's what happened to the whole nation of Australia. To put this into a more personal light, I remember growing up with a great auntie. We called her Auntie Jen. And she was a lovely lady, spoke with a very strong Scottish accent, and she played the violin, was a school teacher, but I always remember her as being just what I would call a little bit cranky. And she never married, she was a spinster. And it was only recently I found out that the reason for that is that she was engaged at the age of about 19, 20 to my grandfather's best friend, who went off to war. His name was Louis Chiel. He went off to war and was killed in the Battle of Passchendaele in France in 1917. And her, like many other girls in her circumstances, never married. For the rest of her life she remained a spinster, not only because she'd remained true to her memory of her boyfriend and fiancé Louis, but also because most other men that age had been taken away from the society of Australia. There just weren't enough men to go around. So right up until the 1980s here in Australia, there were many families who had great aunts, just like my Aunt Jen, who never married.
Another reason I think that Anzac Day is so special is that we are all learning about Anzac Day at school. I'm a teacher, and every year we have Anzac ceremonies with the kids. They learn about it every year. But being inquisitive Aussies, it's something you have to do for yourself and experience, and I think that's why we're getting more and more kids and young people over to Gallipoli every year to experience for themselves what we're teaching about. And our very young history, it's the only history really that we've got, and it's something that makes us feel proud to be Australian.